think the biggest risk for me was that I had to drop everything. Because when everyone was studying for their exams, I was applying BTO and I already proposed to my girlfriend. But then I have to throw all of this out after I pitched the idea already. I asked my fiancée, hey, can we shift some of these plans? The first thing that she's, wow.
I have failed business before. It actually leads me to one point where I only left with 60 cents in my bank account. Wow. So that was bad. By then, I was also thinking, what am I doing in my life? I mean, ultimately, it was my first business. So I don't know what really is normal.
I think my biggest challenge was that I didn't really prioritize my cash flow. I wasn't, for example, quick to send out invoices even at that time. There were clients that owed us quite huge sums of money and our bank account was really depleting and we needed to sort of pay upfront for several other aspects of our business. That made me realize how important it is that we have positive cash flow all the time or even excess in the bank so that we can do other things.
I think my biggest mistake was right at the start. And I was just thinking, we can do this, we can do that. I was just dreaming out of the world. But I was just shooting in so many directions, but just not at the correct place. I was just trying to fit the solution to the problem rather than the other way around.
The biggest mistake that I made is not listening enough to our customers. Bryan and I, we totally just, didn't really take that into consideration. So that came back to us when we were starting our platform. We realized that why are people not booking enough? So that was one of the biggest mistakes, and we realized that only after months down the line after we launched.
My biggest gamble in my life is really going to the business route. As you know, the typical journey route is after you finish your school, you graduate, you start working for a company, and what you are hoping for is just climb up the corporate ladder. There was many thoughts back then. Is it really about just building your passion, or should you just do something for the sake of money? Ultimately, there are a lot of question marks that I had, but I'm glad that the gamble that I took leads me to where I am today.
I was a teacher previously. So back in March 2020, we were faced with empty shelves in the supermarkets. Being in Singapore, who would have thought that we would have empty shelves and not no access to fresh produce? And I thought about my own son's food future, and at that time he was 6 months old. I didn't want him to face such a thing in the future, and that really inspired me and made me have the courage to leave my job to focus and work on Urban Origins full time. It took a lot of courage on my part because it was COVID times and everyone was also facing a lot of challenges. Without my family support, I don't think that I would have had the courage.
I think the biggest risk for me was that I had to drop everything. So when we started adulthood and we got our first job, everyone was just finding to how to take care of their finance and everything, and I was also one of them. And then all of this was just gone when I thought about the idea. I was never financially driven as a person. To me, it's about helping people. I don't care how much I make.
So do you think your fiancée will support?
She was always there with me, and she always told me like, let's do things together. Thank God that I chose her as a fiancée, and then we can do something like that. Yeah. So that was the biggest risk, stability.
Some days I also question myself, is this the right thing to do? Because if I were a teacher, I would have, like for example, maternity leave. But if you're in a startup, the days that you don't work are the days that your business will be affected. Most days, in fact, I'm in front of the computer holding my baby and then like feeding him and then like doing work also at the same time.
As a fresh grad, I'm privileged that I don't have to think about family yet or further plans. So that's why to me, I think the biggest gamble is actually pivoting from our current idea from B2C to this B2B2C ideas. Actually, startups pivot quite often. I think this is something that we all know as entrepreneurs. That's where we really have to make a decision on where do we really channel our resources in terms of pivoting.
I think that's the best part about entrepreneurship. Whatever things get thrown at you, it's more about how can you come out of it and what do you have currently to make the situation the best. Back then, what was happening was that me and Maryann were just at home. So it's just us. Imagine at work, I see her after a while, I also see her, it's very sian.
Hey!
So I think there's this virtual gap where we don't meet the rest of the team. We want to build a culture with the team. We don't want to create just a job experience for them to just come and learn something. I want to learn something that is fun and that they can enjoy as well. Coming down to SCAPE, it really helps us to really bond with everyone.
As a co-working space, I get to meet a lot of founders, and especially where SCAPE has a Telegram chat. So that's where I start asking questions. So I think speaking to like-minded founders and understanding their process really helps me to learn a lot quicker.
And it really opens up the opportunity for you to do collaboration between each other. When we are all here together in one place, that's where opportunity, friendship happens.
And I think entrepreneurship brings up the element of doing your best and following your passion. So as entrepreneurs, we actually take the next step where we find ways to make it as easy as possible to get over that obstacle that we face.